Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today, we have 4 great stories for you. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. You use a deprecated software. What could go wrong? One day, comes this guy asking if we can create a software for him. Boss picks the job and goes with the client on the details of what he needs and so on. When he came back, he put a copy of the project details on my desktop and on the other IT guy's desktop as well, so we can work together and speed up the process. I downloaded a fresh copy of the programming software, I'm going to call it PS just to avoid naming companies and so on, and started to create a flow diagram in order to iron out the issues and sort the routines. But my partner in the project jumped on the project without any analysis. I saw that he had a deprecated copy of the PS. I told him to update it so it would not give us issues in the long run. He refused, stating that he trusts that version rather than the new one due to the new one being plagued with bugs. Anyways, I created a report journal on the server and we both added updates on the project so the boss knew what was going on. And in parallel, opened a secondary journal where I wrote down the issues regarding my programming partner's antics and issues regarding the use of a deprecated PS. To make this short, I created a duplicate of the project when it was around 99% done, and after a couple of days of overtime work, I compiled the project in the new PS, then saved a copy on the server as a beta testing version, which my partner never knew of. Then we finished the official project, and the test run, as expected, was having issues. I had already made known to my boss that I had a prior compromise in the days before the deadline, so I would be unavailable. But as the boss saw the project journal, he did not complain because the problems could be sorted out by my partner. So I logged on the server and changed my program from beta to golden master and moved to an old version backup folder within the main project and went merrily on my way. The day of delivery of the software came, and the boss called me up. He was angry due to my lack of work ethic and blah, 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 because the program was riddled with problems, which weren't cleared by the other IT guy. And the client was about to cut the deal because we were not able to deliver what he wanted. I did a remote login to the server, moved my compiled program to the main project folder, and sent my parallel journal to the boss. Then I called back the boss and told him to check the project again with the client. Hours later, I got a call from the boss. The project was a success due to my last-minute intervention. I got 2 full days off, paid leave, the parallel journal, and the other IT got fired due to unethical behavior. And our next story. Don't screw with somebody who's trying to give you a deal. I own a commercial painting company. I've done everything from $50 jobs to $250,000 jobs. I try not to discriminate, but as my business grows larger, I found that cost for doing smaller jobs is not worth the effort to mobilize/demobilize them. Perfectly natural for a growing construction business, you want fewer jobs worth more money. My company is just getting into the groove of things during 2018 and picking up some big jobs. From this point forward, we'll refer to big jobs as 20K plus projects. I get a call from a family friend, call him Jerry, that I've done a lot of work for in the past. Jerry is a millionaire. Like never have to worry about money ever millionaire. Jerry wants me to loan him an employee or two to do a big job at a property he owns 2 states away. Yes, Midwest 2 states away. I told Jerry we could accommodate his work needs if he pays per diem and a hotel room for my guys. I needed them on another project, but I have other employees that could make do. This was a huge favor since he was essentially renting my employees without needing to carry workers' comp or keep them on payroll. I make the trip with my guys to make sure everything is set up correctly. We get going on the job and it's a success. Get the entire backside of a massive building done within 4 days. After the showing we had there, I thought we were good. Me and my guys go home to our young families and just enjoy life. My guys are scheduled for a weekend off, then 7-hour drive back to the project. We all had a great weekend. My guys get back up to the project after their awesome weekend and realize there is no per diem and no hotel room waiting for them. I call Jerry's secretary to make sure everything's all right. She says she's not able to accommodate their room and board. This was the premise of our deal. Take care of my guys and you can have them. My guys immediately come back home to work for me, albeit pissed as F. Jerry calls and wonders what's going on. I have to explain to him why they came back. It was a $70 night hotel room and a $40 per diem which kept them from staying. Jerry's PO'd, I'm PO'd for not having my guys during that period, and my guys are PO'd for not getting paid for 20-plus hours of work/driving. Tensions cool after about a month. Job still needs to be done. I tell Jerry, in a moment of weakness, we may be available to complete the job for X amount of dollars. He went and got 3 bids for 3 times the amount we were willing to do it for. Again, this is a family friend which I was willing to help. I said we'd do it for half of the highest bid. Pretty effing gracious. He comes back with a previous conversation we had about the total project cost trying to get me down on price. At this point, I've devoted 100+ hours to make a family friend happy. I got paid $1,000 for equipment rental and coordination, minus the money I could have made from my employees/gas for me and my employees and living expenses I incurred. And our third story. Lazy, worthless coworker is now unemployed. Several years ago, I had a coworker who was absolutely worthless. She called in sick at least every other week with some malady, was always out running around, chatting and socializing instead of working, and just generally leaving the rest of us to fill in for her. Another coworker, who I'll refer to as Fed Up, was really sick of dealing with her because we were the ones expected to take her calls and take care of her customers while she was out or away from her desk. I had complained loudly and often to my manager to no avail. For some reason, she took it as if I were challenging her authority rather than believing I had a legitimate complaint. One day, she basically told me she was sick of hearing about it. I obviously had a personality conflict and to drop it or else. Well, I dropped it, but I was PO'd. Finally, one week, everything came to a head. Worthless handled one of our large clients, and we were getting a lot of calls from their customers, so many, in fact, that my supervisor told me and Fed Up that we needed to help Worthless because she couldn't possibly handle all the calls. I was livid. Maybe if she spent her time at her desk instead of running all over the office, she could handle the calls. Anyway, I did what I was told, but I fumed the whole time. Worthless was also in the habit of leaving early every day. At about 20 minutes to closing, she'd shut down her computer and go sit in another coworker's office and blab for 10 minutes, and then they would leave together while I was still working. One afternoon, after she left, I still had about 10 of her unanswered calls, so I sent them back to her desk. I figured if she had time to leave early, she had time to return her own calls. Well, apparently the next day, Worthless tattled to the boss because she came to see me about the phone calls. I'd had it. I told my boss exactly what happened and why I sent the calls back. I guess this time she agreed with me because we didn't have to help her with calls anymore. The whole time this was going on, Worthless was bitching nonstop about this client. She was so PO'd about having to take all these calls and griped all the time. Well, she decided to vent on Facebook and, idiot that she is, made disparaging comments about one of our biggest clients online. As if that's not bad enough, she was friends with at least 20 coworkers, all of whom saw her rant. Most of them were friends on Facebook, name only, because in reality, very few people could stand her. So one of her friends screenshotted the page, printed it out, and gave it to Fed Up. We then mailed the screenshot of her rant to the HR manager from outside the office and sat back and waited. 2 days later, Worthless was escorted from the office. Rumor has it that HR had her termination paperwork ready before they even called her in. And our last story. Boss tries to fire me. So this happened several years ago at a company that I worked for. I was hired into a position there and worked for a woman we shall call Carol. She was the worst manager I'd ever worked for. She really knew very little about the department, couldn't figure out how to read or generate reports to show our department statistics, and was way more concerned with being everyone's friend than their boss. I was very good at the administrative side of things, and although it wasn't my job, she eventually got me to start writing her reports for her that she would present at the weekly management meetings with all the department heads to create and evaluate new sales campaigns, even conducting interviews and writing up employees who got into trouble. Basically, I started doing her job for her, and all the while she promised me that there would be a new opening soon in a higher position and that all the extra work I was doing would be how she would justify to the higher-ups that I should get it. One day, her boss's boss was doing a walkthrough of our department and called me out for some poor productivity on my accounts. Instead of explaining to him that I actually had permission to scale back on my daily accounts in favor of my new responsibilities, she proceeded to ream me out in front of everyone and promised him that it would be handled. I realized then that everything she told me was a lie. I stopped doing her work for her and focused on my own and went back to being the highest producer in the department. She got upset and tried to write me up for disobedience when I told her I wouldn't come in early and do extra work for her again. That was my last straw. I sent her an email with my 2 weeks' notice and CC'd my personal email account so I'd have a copy of it. She replied, "Received." She sat there all morning huffing and puffing and eventually pulled me into the side room and told me to hand in my keys and leave right then, that she wasn't going to pay me for 2 more weeks when I wouldn't do what she said. She didn't realize that when an employee gives their 2 weeks' notice and you fill the position or ask them to leave before the time is up, you still have to pay them out. So I got basically 2 free weeks of pay that I didn't have to work for. The GM of the company was on vacation that week, and when he got back, he was PO'd that the highest producer was gone. He asked her what happened, and she lied about what had happened and said I was grossly insubordinate, and that's why I had to leave that day. Unfortunately, over the next 6 months, the department went downhill so badly that her job was on the line. She reached out to me to see if I would come back and help her fix it. I said I would if she apologized, gave me a raise, and some other perks. She agreed, but when she went to HR to get the contract written up, the GM blocked it and said they would never rehire someone who was let go for being grossly insubordinate. She couldn't admit the truth, so I didn't return. Last I heard, she was fired shortly after. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.